I want to start this episode off by talking some numbers, because the numbers of this whole situation start before the event itself even did. That number is 13,000. That's how many men died in a Confederate prison camp in 14 months. Out of roughly 45,000 men that entered, 13,000 of them would die in a 26.5 square acre area in a muddy field in the middle of Georgia. That's more than 1 in 4. That's a death rate that, if you applied it to cities like Chicago today, would produce 700,000 bodies in just over a year. This is the highest mortality rate of any prison camp in American history. It's a higher death rate than the Buchenwald concentration camp of World War II. This didn't happen in some remote corner of the world that we've never heard of, or an African country that changes names every other decade. This happened in the American South in 1864 while Abraham Lincoln was president of the United States. Not all that long ago in the grand scheme of things. 500 men moved silently towards the gates that would shut out life and hope for most of them forever. Quarter of a mile from the railroad, we came into a massive palisade with great squared logs standing upright in the ground. Fire blazed up, showing us a section of these and 2 massive wooden gates with heavy iron hinges and bolts. They swung open as we stood there, and we passed through into the space beyond. That was John McElroy. Welcome to Andersonville Prison. My name's Kevin, and this is History Goon. And before we go too far, you guys don't have to hold back on language or anything. I can, I'm not too worried about that.
Well, I don't use language anyway, so we're good.
Jimbo don't cuss, but I do, and I get roughly 1 per episode if I'm alive.
All right, gentlemen, are you ready to have a really bad time?
Every time we record.
Oh boy.
We're here for a good time, baby.
Oh boy. Well, these guys weren't. We are headed to Andersonville Prison. If you notice, I have subtitled this episode American Auschwitz because it kind of fits. So the men that died at Andersonville didn't die in battle. They didn't get to die heroically. They died of dysentery, shitting out blood. They died of scurvy with their teeth falling out. They died of gangrene, eating through their limbs and dropping hands and feet off. They died of starvation so severe that survivors that came out looked like walking corpses with skin pulled tight over the bones, eyes bulging, hollow faces, and arms like sticks.
Okay, we're not going to have a good time, are we?
No, we're not going to have a good time. I could have had you guys on for General Butt Naked, and we could have had a little bit better of a time.
And then Dustin would have showed up naked.
I wish I could have been on the Nazi meth episode. That was my favorite.
Dude.
I sent that one to Jimbo to listen to. I don't know if he listened to it, but it's one of my favorites of any podcast ever.
Man, I appreciate that. I had a lot of fun with that one. That dude was just yacked out of his skull on Nazi meth and cross-country skiing. Walt Whitman, who spent years nursing wounded men in Union hospitals, kind of thought he'd seen everything that the war could kind of throw at him through looking at photographs and all this other stuff. But when he saw the survivors at Andersonville, he wrote, quote, "There are deeds and crimes that may be forgiven, but this is not among them." Some of this is really, really bad. Before Andersonville can exist, something has to go horribly wrong. And what went wrong was a policy decision by the Confederate government that would lead up to one of the worst humanitarian disasters in American history. For the first 2 years of the Civil War, both sides operated under what was called the Dix Hill Cartel, which was like a prisoner exchange agreement. The system's pretty simple. Like, you capture my guys, I capture yours. We trade them back and forth at roughly equal rates, and everybody gets to return to their units or home. It wasn't perfectly executed, but it worked well enough to keep populations on both sides and prison camps manageable. Then,
Until it
then,
didn't.
what's that?
Until it didn't.
until it didn't. And what caused it to didn't was was when Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation and started allowing black men to enlist in the Union Army. So anybody not familiar with the Civil War, that's kind of a bad thing for black soldiers if they're going to go fight in the South. Jefferson Davis's response in December of 1862 was, it was in writing, captured black Union soldiers would not be exchanged. They would be treated as insurrectionists or property that had taken up arms against its masters. And they would either be returned to slavery or executed. So if these guys had lived up north and they were not slaves, they would be sent off to whoever, basically.
And I'm pretty sure they probably put them on the front line too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's like, yeah, they're allowed to go fight, but we're still like, I don't know if we're going to, treat them like people yet, basically.
And it's still, even through World War II, it was like that. I mean, it took a long, long time.
Like World War I, they weren't even allowed to fight for the U.S. They had to fight for I think they were fighting for France because they weren't allowed to fight with white men in America. Just wild. So any white officer that was in charge of one of these units would also be subject to execution for the crime of leading black troops into combat. And this was not just like an empty threat. They carried this out regularly. And this was all formalized into law in the Confederate States in May of 1863. Lincoln responded on July 30th, 1863, after soldiers from the 54th Massachusetts Regiment, which is one of the more famous all black regiments in American history. A few of these guys got captured and they were withheld from the prisoner exchange with General Order 252, which basically suspended the Dix Hill cartel for exchanging prisoners. So now we're just straight up not trading anybody back at all. It doesn't matter what they look like. We are keeping them until they die or the war ends, one way or the other.
You would think you're in a war, your resources are dwindling. You would think that they would want it, no matter if it's a black soldier or a white soldier, they would just want to trade it to get their people back to boost that. That's what I would do. You would want to boost your numbers, and then you don't have to feed them. You don't have to shelter them. You move on, you get your people back. But
yeah. Or worst case, you try to force them to fight. And if they don't, you just kill them, So this whole, again, the whole thing's suspended. Confederates treated captured or surrendering black soldiers. If you want to see how bad they treated them, I'm going to plug my own show. Season 2, Episode 6, Nathan Bedford Forrest, a historical piece of shit that, what was it, Fort Pillow, I believe it was, which I think is in northern Tennessee. There was a bunch of black soldiers that were trying to surrender, and they just kept firing at them, and they retreated and essentially pinned the white guys they were fighting with against the wall so nobody could go anywhere. Then the Confederate troops just rolled into the fort and killed everything there. And then I'm not even going to say allegedly, because there was, if you look hard enough, there's photos of them pinning black soldiers to the walls with bayonets and leaving them there.
Mm-hmm.
Which is pretty not great.
I don't think I want to dive deep into the Civil War anytime soon.
No, God, no.
It's really crazy.
The deeper you do dive, man, it just gets darker and darker. And we were doing this to our own people. That's the terrible thing. It's not like this is a foreign country that came in and performed some type of horrendous act. This is your neighbor. This is the bordering state that you've done business with or you've been to, and we're blocking it off and we're killing each other.
Yeah, it's it could be your brother or your cousin,
Depending on where you're from, could be your brother, cousin.
Depending on where you're from in the South, yeah, definitely. That's my daddy uncle.
We call that a dunkle.
A dunkle. So the large-scale prisoner exchanges collapsed completely in August of 1863, and this is why Andersonville exists. Not because of any kind of cruelty on the Union side, not because of any strategy that Grant or any of the other Northern generals were using. None of the other stuff that was where the South was blaming the North for basically doing the same thing. Because we kind of did up here, but not like this. They were actually treated decently, you know. So this decision to build this camp and to stop exchanging prisoners would lead directly to 13,000 plus men dying in a field in Georgia. Like, not even a field, it's a mud pit, basically. So with the exchange system gone, prisoner populations on both sides kind of ballooned. Union facilities at places like Camp Douglas, which is up around Chicago, and there was one in Elmira, New York, that I couldn't find a name from. They got bad, but they were nothing like what was going on in the South. The Confederate prison system was already overcrowded and undersupplied at places like Belle Isle in Richmond, Virginia, where from 1862 to 1865, somewhere between 20 and 30,000 Union troops were crammed into an area of 6 acres. And this place was designed to hold at most 3,000 men. And we got 30,000 people in an area 6 times the size of my backyard.
You got a big
Wild.
backyard, though.
Not my house. It's my apartment, thankfully. But I couldn't imagine like you get like 20 people out here partying or whatever, and it's a lot. But in November of 1863, Confederate officials decided to build a new facility to kind of relieve some of this pressure. They needed somewhere remote, somewhere away from the front lines, so they're away from like the risk of like Union cavalry raids, and they're also far enough away from the supply networks around Richmond, so that if those get raided, they're also not going to find this camp. So they are specifically trying to hide this place, which kind of leads to where they're about to do some really shady, nasty shit.
The more we talk, the more and more it feels like, you know, as I refer to him, funny mustache guy, got some of these ideas.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Not just these ones either. Like, he got the whole, like, eugenics thing from here and all that. Big fan of Henry Ford too, surprisingly.
Yeah, and you got Jimbo here. He's a Ford truck man. He's proud of it.
I drive a Ford.
I work at Ford Motor Company, so
Oh,
I
nice.
work for them racist bastards. I drive a Honda made by proud American workers in Greenfield, Indiana.
I worked for Nissan, where when we did all of our like orientation, where you had to do the like, oh, here's the history of the company, and it's like Nissan started off doing this, and then it leads you up, and it's like it just stops dead at 1920, and then you're like, in 1950, like, wait, whoa, what was going on in the middle? No, nothing. We didn't exist. We went out of business for 20 years.
Didn't Mitsubishi make like the Zeros and stuff?
Oh yeah. Nissan made I can't remember which they were. There was a couple of the Japanese bombers that Nissan made. And they also made like ship components and stuff like that.
It's crazy. It's like, I don't think I want to drive one of those.
It's like if you go work for Volkswagen, they're like, our company started in 1950. No, it didn't. You guys were doing stuff before that, I think.
It's like Mercedes claimed that they never made a 6-wheel vehicle. And they're like, oh, this is the first one we've ever made. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure there's like 2 or 3 in the U.S. that are on display. And they were from 1943 with
There's
German
one where
plates.
I saw this dude, he like direct messaged Porsche customer service for parts. And he's like, I'm looking for parts, like, for what? And he just sends him a picture of a Panzer III. It's like, do you guys still make stuff for this? And he never got a response. It's like, that's fantastic, dude. That's the kind of shit you do that you have to put it on the internet because nobody will believe you.
That seems like a great segue for your idea you were talking about.
My idea?
Yeah, like your phone call idea.
Oh, yeah. I've got to still start on those.
That's a fantastic one to start with. Hey, do we got a starter for a Panzer tank?
Check the back shelves. There's got to be something, right?
What's a Panzer tank? Well, back in
ask your grandfather. You're walking like, Grandpa, what's a Panzer? And he just like shoots to attention. Like, oh no. So they selected this site near a small railroad depot called Anderson Station in Sumter County, which is a pretty remote part of southwest Georgia, about 65 miles west of Macon. It has a stream running through it. It's on a rail line. It seems like a peaceful place to be. Now, maybe, but then not so much. Construction began in January 1864 using slave labor and basically whatever materials they could get like locally. So they're like tearing down old houses to make fences and all that. The plan for this was to have a 16.5 acre rectangular stockade made from pine logs that were like basically they want to build the walls like 15 feet high. So they're burying about 5 feet of it below ground so they can't just be shoved over. It would have sentry boxes, which prisoners would later call pigeon roosts. And these were spaced at intervals kind of like along the wall. Inside, about 19 feet from the wall, a simple post and rail fence marked out what would become the most infamous boundary in American military history, like we were talking about before we started.
The deadline.
Oh boy.
I'm never working to a deadline again. I'm going to tell you that.
Don't even give me one of those. I'll get stuff done way faster than that. And it was called that because any prisoner that crossed this or even reached a hand over it could be shot without warning by the guards in the pigeon roosts.
Talking about Hitler, I think he probably pulled that out too for the Berlin Wall.
Yeah. Well, no, the Berlin Wall was after that.
Yeah, it was after.
No, I know.
The Soviets were doing that, yeah.
No, I know. But I'm saying you said pulling ideology from back then.
Oh, yeah.
So the deadline, he probably looked into that and be like, oh, okay, here's this line here. If anybody touches it, goes across it, we're going to shoot them.
I still think it's hilarious that in Korea, the 38th parallel, that they're afraid that U.S. soldiers are going to grab the Koreans, pull them over the line, and then eat them. That cracks me up. They still believe that.
I did a Patreon episode, patreon.com/1159media, where I talked about a tree that was like in the middle of the demilitarized zone that was like blocking views from the South Korean side into North Korea. So they sent a bunch of U.S. troops and like South Koreans out there to trim this tree. So they show up with all their shit, and like truckfuls of North Koreans showed up and they beat like 2 of these guys to death with axe handles. It caused such a bad like international incident that Douglas MacArthur wanted to nuke the tree to send a point to the North Koreans. But they ended up going out with like chainsaws and cutting it down. Like
more logical. Let's nuke a tree and worry about the fallout taking out both sides.
Dude, he wanted to drop like 5 nukes on North Korea, and they were finally like, nah, we're gonna get rid of you because you're out of your mind. Like, should have got rid of you during World War II, but that's a different story. The modern journalistic term deadline is believed by a lot of historians to come directly from the name of the fence at Andersonville. There were supposed to be wooden barracks inside the stockade, but the prices of lumber were dramatically inflated because of like the Confederacy's economy falling apart. That's never happened again since then, where you couldn't go buy lumber for a couple of years without it costing you the mortgage payment. But
until COVID hit.
I went to a racetrack in Logansport, Indiana, US 24, and you go past a drying facility where they basically run it through, they dry it, and it's all stored. I'm like, you can't get straight lumber, but yet there's a whole, like, you could steal millions of dollars worth of wood probably, but you couldn't get it in the store. It was just ridiculous. They just hyperinflated it to hyperinflate it.
It's like I built a chicken coop, a chicken run, and I had to buy a bunch of 4x4s. I bought 4 16-foot 4x4s, and it cost me $500.
Ooh.
It's like, I was like, oh, because you got to get pressure treated because it's on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there goes that COVID paycheck. Thanks.
Yeah. I built a rifle is what I did with that COVID check.
I did that with one of them.
and then the Lord spoke to me and said, Dustin, I did you a favor. I gave you money. Go buy a house.
There you go.
And then I got upside down because house prices went crazy. So maybe I should have built more guns.
Yeah, the AR that I built, I don't even have anymore. I shot it twice and I was like, I don't like this because I built like a 7.5 inch. I'm like, I don't like it. That's how I got the Soviet Mosin on the back.
Oh,
that was back before you had to do the, paperwork to exchange stuff up here, which is insane.
I love my Mosins. Like, it gives you a shoulder workout. I mean, they're just so fun, and they were so cheap.
And like, if you ever got stuck in a creek, you can paddle out with it too. It's 9 feet long.
To death, huh?
Yeah, dude, it's a 308 baseball bat.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite. Like I really want a K98, but you can't touch them cheap. But I can get a Mosin Nagant pretty darn cheap. So we'll just play with those.
So Andersonville would have no shelter beyond what basically the prisoners themselves could like scrape together from chunks of wood that were broken, pieces of blankets that they were getting that were already ripped, or anything they could possibly try to trade the guards for. These improvised shelters were called shebangs. And that's, if you were lucky, was basically a lean-to to try to keep some of the rain off of you. If you were less lucky, it was a blanket draped over a stick or a branch. And if you were really unlucky, it was absolutely nothing at all. And you just slept on the ground in the rain in Georgia.
And it gets extremely hot and humid.
I've only been to the northern part of it, and that was enough for me. Like,
I always go in April and October because it's a little bit better weather.
We went to Tennessee in April. I was like, because you should just come down in like July or August. I'm like, I don't want to die. Thanks.
No, it's humid. Like I said, I don't know how hot it gets up there in Vermont, but Indiana gets extremely humid for no reason.
Well, you guys got all that corn.
Yeah, other than to be extremely humid. And they're like, well, it's the corn's what does it. I'm like, well, I could go somewhere way nicer and then still have the same heat.
We had a day a couple weeks ago where my phone was saying 85, but feels like 101. It's like, yeah, we get humidity like crazy up here. And then in like 3 weeks, we'll have 1.5 feet of snow on the ground. Because we just don't get fall anymore. It's just like summer snow.
Well, it's good to know we're not the only bipolar state.
Mother Nature needs her meds. The first 500 Union prisoners arrived by rail from Richmond on February 25th, 1864. The stockade was still being finished when they walked through the gates. John McElroy, who's one of the prisoners, who provided the opening quote, that says, quote, 500 men moved silently toward the gate that would shut out life and hope for most of them forever. A quarter mile from the railroad, we came into a massive palisade with great square logs standing upward in the ground. Fires blazed up and showed us a section of these and the two massive wooden gates with heavy iron hinges and bolts. They swung open as we stood there, and we passed through into the space beyond. We were at Andersonville. That was one of the big reasons where I'm like, oh yeah, that's got some big like Auschwitz vibes where you're just like, oh hey, here's the gates, and I don't get to see anything ever again after I go through here. Over the following months, about 400 men would arrive every single day to this prison.
Insane.
So we're talking 45,000 men are walking into this because it's basically a place where you're going to go and die. They're not going to treat you like people. You're not even going to get treated like livestock. You're just chuck you out in the field and let you go. So when the stockade was finished, it was actually rectangular instead of round. What was originally 16.5 acres, or for our European friends, 16.5 acres is about 12.5 football fields. American football fields, not your goofy sport that you call football.
Real football.
Speaking of which, you guys excited to see the Bears move to Indiana?
Is it going to happen? Like,
I keep hearing it.
They act like it's getting closer, but I'm waiting for Illinois to be like, oh, wait, we're about to lose a shit ton of revenue. And we already made a bad deal on the parking because they sold like all the parking in Chicago, I think, was bought by a company in Dubai for a few $1 million.
Seriously?
Like they need it.
And they made their money back like the first year. It's like they're just Chicago and Illinois is just the state of bad decisions. And at some point they're going to right it. And is this going to be now, or is it going to be two football teams in Indiana, which we can barely support the Colts, and you want to give up the Bears?
It's all right, Dustin. You're going to be paying a little bit extra for your food and when you go out to eat, and gas, taxes, and all that be coming back to you.
That's just northern Indiana tax, because we're not even like, I'm 2 hours from it. The AI data centers are what's going to screw us.
Oh.
Higher taxes, higher water bills, higher utility bills,
higher cancer patients,
lower wages, more.
Yeah.
They're going to drive people out.
Yep. Why am I getting all these ads on my phone? Don't know.
Yeah. I should probably stop using AI to make thumbnails and just ban it completely.
That we're going to fight back against the robots.
Yes.
Dustin's new podcast art is just him doing stick figures about the episode.
Dude, that'd be mine too.
This is John Dillinger, and this is his Tommy gun, and this is Dark Discoveries.
This has got an arrow pointing to a guy and it just says John over it in crayons.
Red crayon.
Oh, yeah. Because you use blue to do the drawing and then red for the letters.
Green's
So
the
it
money.
pops.
Yeah, green's money. Black's bullets. And,
And
reds.
yellow and brown, well, you can leave that to your own demise what those are used for.
They've all got the sun like up in the left-hand corner.
Hell yeah. I don't think we've ever got out of, that kindergarten drawing concept.
Oh yeah, no, dude, I've got no artistic ability whatsoever. Like I look and I'm like, oh, he's got a guitar. Like that'd be cool to know how to do that. But
I tried. There's a great story behind that guitar, but I can't play a lick. So the guitar come from the band that did our intro song.
oh, okay.
And I was like, hell yeah, dude, I'm gonna learn to play it because like this is my buddy, and it's like it's toured the country, the world. It's been on like the first Jericho cruise they played, so it's
Nice.
They did all kinds of cool stuff, but it's like I tried to play it, and it's like, dude, my fingers don't do that.
You know what you need to do, Dustin, right? You need to go down to Andersonville Prison, look for the devil, and sell your soul so you can learn how to play that
Gonna
thing.
find a crossroads near there.
That is
Bury a bunch of baby teeth or whatever you have to do.
And there is a chance. They said the crossroads now is a 4-lane highway. I may sneak off to Mississippi one time, and I may try to sell my soul or run for my life from a semi to see if I can learn how to play that thing.
You're just out in the middle of the median with a sign that says Satan on it. So this place, again, designed to hold 10,000 men. That's pretty tight. 10,000 men in that area with no sanitation, no cooking facilities, no medical infrastructure. Again, it's a field with a creek running through it is all this is. The creek was called Stockade Branch, which is a tributary of the Sweetwater Creek. It entered the stockade from the north side, ran through the compound, and exited on the south side. When the prison was planned, the Confederate engineers determined that the creek flow it'd be plenty for the needs of 10,000 men. They weren't entirely wrong about that, but what they failed to account for was an extra 20,000 guys on top of that, all using the same creek to like get drinking water, cook, bathing, and then using it for any kind of sanitation that they can use. And the Confederate Guards camp was on the north side of the stockade, which is upstream of the prison. So by the time the water is getting to where the prisoners are, it's already passing through the guards' latrines, their cooking fires, and their horse pastures.
Sounds like a brilliant idea.
Man. So like this water is, I mean, obviously contaminated. That's probably an understatement. And again, it's a water source and the sewer all at once.
Yeah, it maybe would have worked if you really just broke it up into 3 sections and not we have 3 sections and you have 3 sections.
That would have been too much work.
I wonder if this is where shit runs downhill too.
I wouldn't be surprised. So by the summer, the creek is essentially a swamp of human waste, rotting food scraps, and the runoff from thousands and thousands of incredibly sick men. Confederate surgeon Joseph Jones, commissioned to investigate the camp's mortality rate, described the creek in terms that it's best to just quote directly from him. Quote, "The action of the sun upon the putrefying masses of excrement and fragments of bread and meat and bones excited most rapid fermentation and development of a horrible stench." No way. The Georgia sun beating down on a bunch of like human waste and rotten food's going to make it smell bad and cause stuff?
It's a spring. It cleans itself.
It's like you watch Trailer Park Boys?
Hell yeah, I do.
You're just throwing stuff in the lake. You can't do that. It's littering. No, it's not. It takes it out to the ocean. It gets rid of it.
One person's garbage is another man's ungarbage.
He also noted that heavy rain caused the creek to rise and flood the surrounding grounds, despite feces across the area occupied by all of the prisoners.
I didn't even think of that.
Dude, this is so bad. In August 1864, the stockade is expanded to a whopping 26.5 acres. This helped none at all because at this point in time, we now have 33,000 men here. So you're still looking at over 1,000 men per acre.
Couldn't you just use your slave labor to divert the water and have like two different runoffs of this to where you can bathe and cook in this side and then, divert it this way away and then use it as a latrine and go somewhere else?
You're missing the point, Dustin. They don't care. That's the issue. They don't care. They're enemies.
Not a lot of civil engineers in there.
They don't know any better.
I mean, you could divert it twice, just like have it one for the soldiers, and then this one is for the camp.
Yeah,
that's fairly easy. And I mean, like you said, you have slave labor that they're not going to I mean, they're not allowed to complain about it, I guess, but
and you're going to give them a deadline regardless.
So a normal day in Andersonville would kind of look like this, like at the peak populations, because the number of 13,000 dead comes up as like 100 a day. But you would wake up on the ground. If you were lucky, you'd have something over you. You're going to be outside all day in Georgia in August, which means it's hot and you're sleeping wherever you can lay down. And apparently the heat doesn't really break all that much at night either down there.
You're fighting dehydration.
Yep.
It's just, oh man.
You're already sick. You're soaked whenever it rains. You get thunderstorms rolling through. Like you're in trouble. By most accounts, there was not a bare spot of earth anywhere, meaning that you couldn't look out into this place from a guard tower and see ground because there were so many men laying down. When you stand up and look around in every direction, you see people just packed together shoulder to shoulder, however they can get somewhat comfortable. And when rations arrived, because that wasn't every day, and there was obviously not enough of them when they came in through, they consisted primarily of cornmeal, not like properly milled cornmeal. This has like chunks of the cob still in it. So when you're eating this, I mean, obviously it's super rough. It's a corn cob, and you're eating this, and it's just ripping your digestive tract apart. So you combine that with dirty water. It's basically a breeding ground for like dysentery in most situations. And if you're not familiar with dysentery, it's a pretty excellent intestinal infection that causes like apocalyptic diarrhea, which is filled with blood and mucus.
I died to that a couple of times in Oregon Trail.
Oh yeah, more than once, man, for sure.
and then when you go to the bathroom, you're like you said, you're ripping your guts out, and it's just, it's not like, it's like getting shot in the gut with a small caliber bullet. It's not one wound you're dealing with. You've got nicks and cuts and scrapes and infections everywhere.
So, Kevin, during your research, did you find anything about any cannibalism going on there from the people that were just so hungry?
I didn't, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Me either. I just didn't know.
I wouldn't be shocked by that at all. There was was it like the 40s or 50s? There's a whole like cannibal island that the Russians set up where they jammed like 40,000 people onto an island that was like 4 acres around. And they came back like 3 days later and they're like, oh, they're eating each other.
Right. And if I also remember from when I was reading up on it, do you know about the Raiders?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Dustin, the Raiders and the Regulators, they're going to mount up here in a minute.
I'm not trying to add too much of what I know, but I know guys were like shackling themselves to other people, and they would die. They would try to keep them to where they thought they were alive to get their food rations.
Oh, so it was weekend at Bernie's in Georgia.
So, hey, you a dead person as long as you can to where you can get their supply, their supplies, you can get their food, and you can try to survive. I don't know if cannibalism would have really happened too much because of, things like that. And then you're going to be noticed. But like for fun, these guys, they said they would pick off and count the lice off of each other to pass the time. Because
but were they even taking the dead bodies away is the question. They probably just let them sit out there and rot.
They did take them away. I don't know if they just buried them or I can't remember exactly what they did. I didn't listen to that part because I was already like drawn into where they were like, you're keeping them to eat their food. And it's like, that's just, your head starts going. It's you know, you're in survival mode. You're doing just whatever you can do to survive. And them talking about when you drank water and you had to drink your water through your teeth so you weren't eating maggots. It's just
It's rough.
it's and would maggots be protein? Like,
Mm-hmm.
Oh God,
you eat maggots,
Sure.
though?
probably.
Like, or are you going to eat it and it's just going to get in your stomach and your acid in your stomach's not going to be there to really eat it and it's going to make it worse? I don't
Well,
know.
it's like that great philosopher once said, I think his name was Timon, they're slimy, but they're satisfying.
I mean, and the good news is, like, if your teeth haven't started falling out yet, you can just kind of crunch them up and make sure that they're dead before they get in there and like fester, I guess. But
Mm-hmm.
so there's no cooking utensils distributed here. They
They don't
had
have
to, like,
toilet paper invented yet.
what's that?
They don't have toilet paper yet.
No.
No, but it's a good thing extra corn cob chunks came in their meal so they could use that for wiping.
Well, you don't have to wipe, but like it's already done the damage by the time you get there.
So like these guys have to improvise like containers out of whatever they can to get water and get their food and all that. And like a lot of them couldn't. It's hard because like you've got like a shitty old bowl or something with a hole in it that you're trying to hold water in that's going to make you sick, and then you're going to eat food that is also going to make you sick. So you just gotta like roll with it. There's no fresh vegetables, there's no fresh fruit. These guys are getting pirate diseases because a lot of them were getting scurvy, which is I think it's vitamin C deficiency, I believe. But at its worst, in the summer of 1864, well over 6,000 of the 3,000 prisoners had active cases of scurvy. And what that is like, yeah, it's a vitamin C deficiency, and it affects connective tissue. So your gums get soft and rot, your teeth get loose and fall out. Old wounds that were healed over are going to reopen, and like scar tissue's breaking down, your joints swell up. This was an interesting one. Your skin bruises from the inside. It's a medieval disease, and it's killing people in 1864. Yeah. The medical situation was like absolute clusterfuck. The hospital outside the stockade walls was overwhelmed. I'm surprised they even had a hospital, but it was overwhelmed like instantly as soon as these guys started rolling in.
Well, when you say hospital, you're probably lucky if it's a tent with a dirt floor.
Yeah, it's most likely a field hospital. There's like barely any surgeons. There's not enough medication to do anything. They didn't even have clean bandages. They are boiling and reusing bandages after they've been on guys with gangrenous limbs.
Yeah, all the bacteria, all that nasty pus, and man.
Dude, I'm surprised they didn't have people in here with leprosy at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know how they didn't. Like, I'm not going to say I would ever do anything rash and take my own life. But when you're in this, I don't know how people, like how the suicide rate wasn't through the roof, because there's no end. There's no potential to end. You have nothing to look forward to.
Do we know the ratio of guards to prisoners? Because don't you think if there was 30,000 of you or whatever at any point, just go in numbers and just, let's go, boys. We're either going to make it and they can deal with the cleanup, or we're going to overtake this place.
Yep. They can't kill all of us.
Right. They run out of bullets eventually.
Yep.
When you look like an Auschwitz survivor, you don't have the energy. You don't have, the motivation and the strength to do it. That's the thing.
Yeah, I think I think you'd pretty quickly like develop a mentality of like, well, this is it, and you just kind of give up. There's no point in trying to fight these guys. We can't get out, and even if we do, we're gonna get eaten by alligators or whatever. And
you're looking for the silver lining, and there's none. There's nothing that I don't know. You can't escape. You're gonna get shot and killed. They don't care. You're gonna starve to death. There's no hope anywhere.
So, like, a little behind the scenes, I've got a whiteboard over here with all my first 10 episodes for the season on it. I had to break these up because I did a bummer of an episode last week and then this one, And I'm like, I can't do 3 episodes in a row that are just going to be horrendous. I've got to do something fun in the middle and then come back to another complete scumbag here in a little bit. But dude, it's this is probably one of the rougher ones that I've researched from just like reading stuff. It's like, this is horrible.
Makes you wish you went back to a serial killer, doesn't it?
Yeah, right. Then there's people like, oh man, I wish I could go back in time to the 1800s.
No.
No.
If you go back and listen to our 4th of July episode that we did the first year, imagine being in the wool clothes that they wore.
Oh,
The chafing that you would have would be through the roof. There's no baby
God.
powder. There's no monkey butt paste. There's no deodorant you put on, to keep the friction down. Like imagine the rash and
You got cornmeal.
Yeah.
But then it's
like,
gonna those chunks again. It's gonna cut skin.
Even World War II, those guys were in wool uniforms year round. But I mean, they're in Europe. It might not be as bad, but man, it's like like you're saying 4th of July. Look at the guys that fought in Gettysburg. It's like Pennsylvania gets hot as balls and humid, and you're out in a field with no cover, just out in the sun.
Yeah, not. I don't want to go back to then. Like, there would be some cool stuff to see. Like, give me a time machine to go see this one moment. But my ass is getting back in and leaving.
Yeah, I'm opening the door and looking at it and be like, oh, cool.
The Declaration of Independence. This is pretty freaking cool. Can I go scribble my name down real quick and get out of here?
Give me 1899 where I can go to a city and like see them build it. Sure, that's great. Anything before that? Nah, I'm good. I'm gonna stay inside this thing. Keep my hands inside the ride at all times.
I don't want to go pre-air conditioning because I am not built for that.
If I'm going back, let's go back to medieval times, dude. Give me a suit of armor or something.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, something heavier that the metal's going to reflect and be hot and make you sweat more.
Right.
Smart idea.
Well, I mean, if I'm going, let's go.
Well, I mean, if you put the visor up and you're on horseback, that's kind of like air conditioning, I guess.
Yeah, it's like the race car when I had it. You stick your arm out the window and you think that's air conditioning.
Keep your sleeve loose.
It helped, but it was still hot.
Oh. The surgeon's report from that summer of 1864 noted that 718 of the 2,697 patients in the hospital died specifically due to the lack of supplies, like not necessarily from wounds or diseases or anything but because they didn't have enough stuff to treat them. Men who could not get into the hospital just died on the ground in the compound, and their bodies were not always quickly removed. The death rate in August of 1864 hit 100 to 100 plus men per day. On one day in August, this was the biggest day so far of the camp.
And it's probably the hottest time of the year, too.
Oh, dude, I couldn't imagine. Like, I mean, again, up here, it's hot in August. Like, down there, it's got to be, like, an outer ring of hell kind of hot. But on this one particular day, 207 men died. In the month of August 1864, 2,997 prisoners died at Andersonville, which, I mean, almost 3,000 men in 331 days is pretty rough. The procedure for removing the dead had become routine to the point that these guys just didn't even feel anything about it. Prisoners who died or dragged people to collection points near the gates known as the dead house. And in the most Monty Python thing ever, wagons came each day to haul off the bodies to mass graves that were being dug just outside of the stockade walls. The bodies went in shoulder to shoulder, row after row, and they just buried them in these like really long trenches. One thing that makes Andersonville different from a lot of like comparable sites where people like this die constantly and at a very quick rate, is that a young prisoner named Dorrance Atwater, which is a weird ass name. It's like Torrance with a D. He was assigned to record the names of the dead for Confederate records that were kind of, I guess necessary, but he secretly kept his own duplicate list because he thought that Confederate records would never actually reach the families of these guys. So he's actually doing something decent. He's trying to make sure that we can, record these names and maybe at some point in time find a way to reach out to their family and be like, hey, your father died in a shit field somewhere of a completely preventable disease. When he released, sorry.
Oh yeah, you had no way to know back then. That's, you're hoping that they're going to come back, and you don't know if they settled somewhere, or if they're gone forever. I mean, these families are in the dark way more than ever.
Yeah. When he left, he smuggled this out in all of his belongings, and for all of his efforts, only 460 of the 13,000 graves at Andersonville have been marked as unknown. So he got a lot of names on this list. So there's less than 500 that he didn't record. So who knows if he got there after the first day and just didn't catch the first few guys that came through. But the rest of these are all marked with names and everything.
Now, wasn't there somebody else that went through and logged that too, that was after it? Or was that the same time?
I think it might have been from the same document that he wrote.
Okay.
If I remember correctly.
I was thinking it was a woman that did it, but it could have been just the name that threw me off.
The bodies themselves were wasted almost beyond any kind of description by the time they even got out there. Men who went into the camp weighing 170 pounds, 6 months later, they weigh about 90. And just for a quick ADD break, I'm going to go on a watch list real quick. Ooh, okay. So an adult male skeleton weighs about 26 pounds. So these guys got about 80 pounds of meat on them, including like skin and organs and all that stuff, which is pretty rough.
And what little bit of water you got left.
Yeah, right. When Union soldiers liberated the camp in May of 1865, they described the survivors as human skeletons amid hellish scenes of desolation. Photographs were taken of survivors in late 1864 when the Northern press finally got a hold of them. This obviously causes a little bit of a panic and some uproar, because these are not photos of just like, maybe he's sick and lost some weight. These look like they've been starved to death, which, I mean, they have. Like you could count ribs on people from across the field at this point. Walt Whitman's line about crimes that can't be forgiven is from seeing these photographs. So let's hop back to the deadline real quick. The shooting policy was enforced with a lot of consistency. Guards in the Pigeon Roost had standing orders, and they followed them to a T. You crossed the line, you died. You reached across it, you died. You approached it too close, you died. Men were shot when they were like delirious from fever and dehydration, and they're just wandering around aimlessly because your brain is dying and you don't really know what you're doing. Some accounts suggest that certain guards shot men deliberately to claim that they'd crossed the line when they hadn't, because guards who shot prisoners attempting to escape were given rewards like extra rations and furloughs, so you get a little bit of leave.
Yeah, I'm sure that got abused.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Like, this guy looked at me weird, so...
He farted, and there's no way that he should have farted because we only feed him cornmeal.
He's like...
Cornmeal don't make you fart. He stole somebody's food.
20 yards away, and he's like, I don't like the look of that guy.
And I'm sure if they're as tight as they're packed, you shoot one person, that musket ball, that bullet, I guess it ain't really a musket ball then, but that bullet's going to probably go through him and hit somebody else.
Yeah. Especially, like you said, with them being packed like that.
There's no fat to absorb the blow. It's going to go straight through the bones and rip through because it's going through something that's half the size of what it used to be.
Yeah, and those mini balls were like it's like a 68 caliber or something like that. So it's like that's bigger than a paintball. Well, it's about the same diameter as a paintball, but
yeah, they were big balls
and cranking. I mean, there's not a lot of details on like individual shootings. Like there was none that were more noticeable than others, but there's a pretty well documented pattern to prove that these guys were just randomly picking dudes and shooting them. So you add these deaths to like disease deaths and starvation deaths, and that's where that whole number of 100 a day comes from. Now we're going to get into, kind of briefly here, a guy that you mentioned, Dustin, in a message back and forth that we had. We're going to talk about Captain Henry Wurz.
Everything I heard, it was like, hey, we need somebody to do this job. You're here. You can do it.
Yeah.
We're going to put this on your shoulders.
So he's the commandant of the inner stockade, and he was charged after the war with specific individual murders, which is very strange. Among the charges brought against him were ordering guards to attack prisoners with dogs. And these weren't like standard hunting dogs. These are hunting dogs that are trained to track like prisoners that are escaping. So probably like bloodhounds, something like that, which are, I mean, that's a sizable dog.
And they're big in the South, so that would make sense.
Yeah. You get a lot of those big like hunting hounds like that. Like, you know, it's a 120 pound dog and you're turning it loose on a 90 pound
human. It's not a beagle because it'd have been like all it did was barked.
We turned him loose and his nose hit the ground and he stopped listening. Yeah, that sounds like a beagle to me.
Yeah.
So when prisoners attempted to escape, they did this constantly. They're trying to like dig tunnels. They're kind of like trying to burrow towards the tree line, which is about 50 feet beyond the wall. The Confederate guards sometimes used the dogs, not just to like track them in the woods, but they would turn them loose on them outside of the compound and just let them do what they're going to do. So the charges brought against Wurs included the charges against Wurs included Specification 11, that he ordered hounds to attack specific prisoners, causing their deaths. He also allegedly beat prisoners with his revolver, and he personally executed a few of them with his revolver. The like evidence for who he specifically murdered, again, kind of mixed. Some of it's made up for the trial, which somebody like this, you don't really need to make up details for a trial to make him look like, a demon, because he kind of was. But he was also, he's also seen as like a scapegoat for the failure of everything going on above him. The whole, like you said, shit rolls downhill thing.
And like that's what, it's how much was actually him, how much was made up, and how much is other people covering their ass to survive. Because he was the first person to be tried for war crimes?
Yeah, not even really war crimes. He was brought up on actual murder charges instead of war crimes, which I don't know if there's really a distinction between it, but like the reality of what happened there in general is not made up at all. Too many men from too many different regiments describe the same thing in their letters and diaries. Something's happening that is much worse than just neglecting these guys to death. So, you want to talk about the Raiders and the Regulators?
Just mount up.
Here's a detail about Andersonville that kind of disturbing in a way. That obviously, aside from like the cruelty of the Confederacy towards these guys.
I wanted to set a record for ADD breaks on this episode. So
you ever like type something and then go back and like as you're going, your brain just shuts off and you type the same thing again?
Every episode he does.
Yeah.
So if you listen to our intro in the beginning episodes where we had the disclaimer, I wrote that and we each did, the same part. So we all covered the whole thing. I read it wrong every time I did it. It's never the same thing. So there's just little Easter eggs out there. We'll share an episode and he's like, I'm trying to keep up with you. You start changing words and adding stuff. And I'm like, that didn't make sense. So I had to fix it. It made sense at the time, but as I'm reading, it just didn't compute. So you got an audible.
Like I try to write how I read, but sometimes I just fall on my face doing that. It's like,
well, mine would be like C spot, C spot, run.
What's this word? Run? Yeah, okay, thanks.
Runs fast.
Line. So within weeks of this prison being open, it reaches critical mass, and we now have a gang, and they called themselves the Raiders. This is a group of mostly New York City street criminals who had been kind of swept into the war's draft because at that point in time, you need bodies. It doesn't matter if you've got a record or not. But they found themselves in Andersonville all at the same time, and they decided that the most efficient path to survival was to take what other people had. They were organized, they were violent, and they had absolutely no competition. So they're operating just out in the wide open. They're making clubs and knives, and they're robbing men of food, clothes, money, watches, rings, jewelry, anything that has value. Uh, and when anybody fought back, they got killed. Uh, the,
Until Big Pete comes along.
So they operated with absolutely no repercussions for months. Worse, for like whatever reason or combination of reasons, did absolutely nothing about this. He just, well, they're killing themselves, so saves me bullets.
Saves bullets. Food.
Saved us a tenth of a penny per person.
It's like as bad as Confederate supply lines were, I think the last thing I'd want to be doing is just wasting bullets on skeletons, you know?
Yeah, because you're not getting, like I said, there's no hope coming back. You're not getting supplies.
Yeah.
You know, the Union had shut down, you know, the ports, and they were, you know, putting in blockades. You weren't getting nothing.
No. Like the Union Army is like the blueprint for what the military is now, where it's like, here, money. It's like, we've got money, we can stop this problem. And like the guards that were up in the pigeon roost during this just watched. They did absolutely nothing.
They're going to claim that they shot, like, that guy got shot or that guy got stabbed. I did that. Like, that's my ration.
They're drawing straws like, that one was mine. All right, cool. I get 3 hours off. A prisoner named Peter Big Pete Aubrey finally organizes a response. He recruited men willing to fight, and he formed a group called the Regulators, which were prisoners who kind of policed other prisoners because there was really no other options. And the Regulators started arresting raiders, and they held trials.
With their own judge. I'm like, this is ridiculous.
Could you imagine just like everybody weighs like 50 pounds and you're just like...
But that guy that weighs 60 pounds.
They go, raise your right hand. I am.
Why do they call you Big Pete? Because I weigh 100 pounds.
Yeah.
The judge was a prisoner named Peter McCullough. The jury was selected from a group of newly arrived prisoners chosen because they had no prior knowledge or relationship with either one of these two like competing factions, so they couldn't be accused of having any kind of bias against anything. The trial found most raiders guilty of various charges. The sentences ranged from running the gauntlet, which is being forced to walk between two lines of men who beat them with whatever they could get their hands on, to a ball and chain to the stocks. 6 men were found guilty of murder and sentenced to death. On July 11th, 1864, Confederate guards provided the nooses. Imagine just walking up to one of these guys and be like, hey, I know we're not friends, but my hands don't work and I need you to tie me nooses. And they're probably like, I got you.
We're doing it, but we're putting 13 wraps around it, just so you know.
But wait a minute. Did they use the same noose over and over? Or did they give them 6 different nooses is the question.
We gotta boil it in between. Then they're just like swinging and it's like shooting at them like, there's an hour.
We got a hanging at high noon 15, high noon 30.
And
line them up, boys. The 6 condemned men were hanged by their fellow prisoners from a makeshift gallows built inside the stockade. Now we've got spare wood. Like,
yeah.
Where was this before?
You've got a stick and a piece of a uniform trying to protect your face when you sleep to keep the bugs off of you. But now they got a gallows built.
The gallows is just like 4 dudes making a pyramid. And they stand
on top of each other.
Who are we going to have hold the rope? Whoever gets here first. Like the next person that comes in that's got some strength, that's who's doing it.
We got to find like a 6'8" guy. Just have him hold it up. Now sit down. Union prisoners are, again, they're executing other Union prisoners while the Confederate guards are just kind of watching and enjoying. Their graves are in the Andersonville National Cemetery in a separate section from the prisoners who died of pretty much anything else. And the headstones read Raider on them. August 1860. What's that?
It's just sad. I mean, we're at war with ourselves and now we're killing ourselves. We only laugh because it's just so horrific.
It's insane. And like you can't not laugh at how crazy the story is.
Yeah, it's
You know what's scary is
get worse. It somehow finds a way to get a little worse.
well, what's scary is we're probably not too far removed from this coming back again. I mean, if you look at the happenings around the country, I could totally see this happening. Except this time, I don't think it's going to be North versus South. It's either going to be a race war, or it's going to be rich versus poor, or both.
Or Democrat versus Republican, and
the independents just stand by and watch.
Yeah, we're not.
Somehow Bernie Sanders is still trying to get your money. I'm here again to ask
I will get your
for more money to kill these people.
There college no more.
Who was that one guy, Ralph Nader? He might have a chance of winning this time.
Honestly, if
Thoreau was close and he got cold feet.
If we want to start somewhere, it's got to be DC, and we just grab anybody with a tie and be like, "Hey, head to the hill, bud."
I'm just here to petition. I'm not a politician. I'm a lobbyist.
What kind of tie wearer are you?
A bow tie.
Oh.
Yeah,
they used to sell tickets for people to be hung. It's just,
yeah.
The 1800s it was a different time.
Well,
you would
all right.
Pack a lunch and go watch an execution.
We got to talk about this. Why? I've never understood. Why do we have to wait like 30 years for people to get? Let me understand. No. Let me clarify. Have we incarcerated innocent people? Absolutely.
Yeah, every day.
Have we murdered those people in prison for something they didn't do? Absolutely. But for me as a taxpayer, and you, every listener as a taxpayer, why do I give them money to get 3 square meals a day, cable TV, exercising rights, all this stuff for 30 years? I understand the appeal process can take time, but okay, you get 2 chances. Okay? 2. And it's not going to take 30 years to get these 2 appeals in. That's just my own personal opinion.
I'm with you.
So but I mean, it's ridiculous.
You're guilty until proven innocent. We live in a society that they do not care if you are found innocent. They want to find you guilty.
Right.
They care about convictions, that conviction rate to get themselves back into office. There's no integrity to it.
Well, let's
How
think.
Many people that a girlfriend says that he put hands on her and she's the one that maybe was the aggressor. They take them both. She gets off. The guy goes to jail, was innocent, and has to go through legal battles for all this and can't get jobs or serves jail time for something they didn't do because the prosecutor and the judge wants a conviction. They don't give a shit if you're innocent. They want the conviction to look like they're doing something.
Well, private prisons are big money.
Right. Think about this. How many people have we incarcerated? How many people have we incarcerated for marijuana? Yeah, now marijuana is legal in over half the states.
Yep.
Why can't we? They want to bring the draft back so bad, which I think they're getting ready to, if I read right. Why not go to your overpopulated prison people that are on death row and say, hey, you're on the front lines over here in Iran, Iraq, wherever they're going, Kuwait, wherever they get to go. We drop you in, you make it back, you're free.
Like that's one thing I don't know if you guys, you've heard a little bit of my show. I, with a fiery passion, hate everything about communism.
Mm-hmm.
But that was one thing they got right. Where like if they convicted like Andre Chikatilo, they found him guilty of all those. 2 days later, they went out and put a rifle around in the back of his head and just tipped him into a hole.
Well, it's like BTK killer or the Long Island State killer. They just found him guilty today, and he gets to spend the rest of his life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Yep, and
why?
we get to pay for it.
Why? Yeah. Why?
Thoughts and opinions of Jimbo and Kevin are not the thoughts and opinions of the Dark Discoveries
podcast. If we have video evidence of Dustin going to Taco Bell and stealing all the chimichangas and meaty potatoes, and Dustin's like,
not meaty potatoes.
Dustin's like, that wasn't me. That was somebody that looked like me. No, Dustin, it was you. Okay. If there's video evidence, if the person admits to it, it's just, it's a sad situation we live in, man. And it gets frustrating at times.
Who are you to play God? And I think whoever got rid of the caramel apple empanada from Taco Bell, they should probably go to prison because that was one of the best things they had on the menu.
Along with the man that decided that we didn't need fried apple pies at McDonald's anymore.
Or how about the Choco Tacos?
Yep. we line all three of those guys up and just hit them with the truck, every single one of them. I do like what I think it was is it Louisiana or Arkansas, one of the two, where if you're found guilty of sexual crime with a minor, they physically castrate you now. It's like,
and then there is the one place that I'll be like, yeah, you can go ahead and execute somebody.
And wasn't it South Carolina, I do believe, just reinstated the firing squad, I do believe?
Idaho did too, I think.
Yeah, I think there was 2 or 3 of them.
But like, hey, if you're hurting kids, let's not physically castrate you. I'd prefer to ballistically castrate you. Just take a 20 gauge and blow your shit clean off. And
so today, I was reading in Indiana, this guy came up for they're asking to go ahead with the death row, they're going to execute him, right? And they were like, this guy, a 5-year-old kid, he took him and he put railroad flares. He hog-tied him and put railroad flares in his underwear and lit him on fire inside the house and walked away with his 7-year-old. He was 5 years old and his 7-year-old sister was in the house. They burned to death. But now he's been on death row for so long. But now they're like, oh, well, the drug that we use, people don't want to sell it to us because it's inhumane and they don't want to be associated with that. And I'm like, fine, we won't use lethal injection. Bring back old Sparky, I say.
May I prescribe you a fire axe?
Exactly. But it's something like that. When you do something to a child, that's one of my passionate things is that's the one thing I do not stand for at all.
Yep.
Sorry. That was my ADD moment.
I'm a dad. Like, the thought of anybody hurting my kid, like, the thought of being at Walmart and having somebody walk between me and him in an aisle, I'm just like, oh, I'll kill you. Like, I will physically kill you right now. Like, it's never anything malicious, but it's just like the instinctive.
Human trafficking is on the rise.
Oh my
man.
God,
you
dude!
Can't be too safe. It's like you get stuff and it's like, no, that's fake. Then you hear stuff that corroborates. I'm in a town of 16,000 people off of I-74, and people are out there, like, and you're like, hey, like, you have to pay attention every minute. You can't relax. You got to always be vigilant because there's these sick creeps out there, and that's where I draw. Like, I'm like with Jimbo, like. You do certain things, who are we to play God? But when you touch a child, you got to be judge, jury, and executioner on that deal. You can't let it slide.
It's like, I mean, if you live in a state where you legally can, if you are out with your child, I don't understand why you wouldn't have a handgun just in case.
But Dustin, they're rehabilitated in prison.
No, they're forced to make stuff in prison to make the state money.
Derailed this episode, but we might want to get that train turned back around and head towards Andersonville, Georgia.
Yeah, let's talk about something more uplifting.
Yeah, exactly.
He edits, so he can cut this out if he wants.
Oh yeah, no,
this ain't making it.
This can be bonus content, man.
It's just Patreon, boys.
You want to hear what 3 guys think should happen to child molesters? $5 a month.
30-30 rifle right to the crotch.
Yeah, I mean 30-30 is expensive. 22 is pretty cheap.
Yeah, it'll do the same damage.
That's true. So again, we're sticking in August 1864 because it's just like this is the worst time that has ever existed. Men who can't get water from the guards' water supply are now drinking sewage. They're trying to dig wells with spoons and broken canteens. Right here, the Georgia water table is at about 70 feet down, which means digging for this is.
And it's clay. It's typically clay. It's not dirt.
No,
and Georgia does get hot, so that ground's going to be. We may have lost Jimbo to the storm there, but it's going to be tough. And like digging and talking about trying to go underneath the camp to those trees. It has to be the fresh people coming in because I don't see the prisoners having the strength.
No, God, no. You've been there for a month or two. Like you're just not. You're done. You're not going to be able to dig that out. Hey, we're back. For continuity's sake, we're recording the next day because
this is what happens when you give 2 people with ADD microphones.
Because, like, full disclosure, we could have finished this last night, but we just started shooting shit about like life and wrestling and sports and stuff, and just never got around to it. But kind of convenient where we're picking back up because it's kind of the reason that we lost in the first place last night was we are going to pick up with a massive thunderstorm hitting.
Yeah.
Lightning struck the ground inside the stockade. The wall in one section was breached by flooding from this storm. And from the spot where the lightning struck, this sounds crazy. Like this is like some divine intervention stuff, because where the lightning struck, it actually created like a spring of fresh, clean water.
I thought they'd be standing in, knee-high shit,
Right. But no, this was just like the one spot where there's no like human waste and stuff. It's just like, poof, there's water.
We've been on a spring the whole time.
Yeah. Why weren't we digging? Oh, we were with spoons and it wasn't working. So the prisoners who were closest fell on it and start drinking. And then word spreads, obviously, because something like this is going to get people's attention. Men that could crawl or stagger towards it did. And by accounts from multiple people that were keeping diaries, when these guys saw fresh, clean water, they started crying.
It's the only thing you've had like positive in probably months.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the only positive thing we've had so far in this episode. I mean, including yesterday.
I know the ending of some of this, and there's one more like piece of silver lining, but that's about it.
Yeah, there's not a lot of positivity and happiness in this one.
No.
The spring flowed at a pretty sufficient rate, keeping a pretty regular supply of the camp's water clean. The prisoners started calling this Providence Spring. They took it as an answer to prayers, and I kind of get that. It makes sense. You're praying for clean water, and here you go. In 1901, survivors of Andersonville and the Women's Relief Corps erected a white marble canopy over this spring. They put an inscription on like a monument there. It says, quote, the prisoner's cry of thirst rang up to heaven. God heard, and with his thunder cleft the earth and poured his sweet waters here.
I think somebody was like, God, strike me down.
Yeah.
And like he was, being sarcastic and like took a step away and it missed him.
He looks up, he's like, nice try, but thank you.
We'll take the water instead. I take that back.
Yep. No, please don't. This is what I was looking for in the first place. Like, you're the man.
You're looking for a miracle and you get it. Like, How often does that happen?
Not often.
Never.
Providence Spring still flows today at the Andersonville National Historical Site. And it's actually the most visited part of the grounds. Now, let's get back into our buddy that we talked about kind of briefly last night on the other recording, Commandant Henry Wurz. Wurz was born Hartman Heinrich Wurz on November 25th, 1823, and not where you'd expect with a name like that. He was born in Switzerland.
Why would you leave Switzerland is what I want to know.
Right. Like, you got chocolate, you got like fantastic gun laws in Europe. I mean,
and then you have awesome views, like the awesome mountains.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Like I would like to go there. That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, it's a bucket list.
Excuse me. So his background was not in anything military. His background was being a doctor, which is kind of wild.
The reason why we have to have a medical license now.
Yeah, right. He was specifically a homeopathic doctor, so the licensed snake oil salesman to some degree. But back in the 1840s, that was like a legitimate thing that you could specialize in the medical field. He ended up coming to America in 1849, Eddie Murphy style. He was not coming under like happy circumstances. He'd actually been convicted of embezzlement and fraud in Zurich, and he was basically exiled. They're like, we don't care where you go, but you can't stay here. Just scoot, you rascal.
So let's take the snake oil across the pond and see what we can do in America.
I have to load up my oils. So he started off working at a factory in Massachusetts. He did that for like 5 years or so, and then moved south to Kentucky, and then eventually Louisiana, where he worked as an overseer on a slave plantation. Off to a great start over here.
Just stand-up citizen.
What's that?
Just a stand-up guy.
Oh, yeah. Just salt of the earth, this guy. When the Civil War started, he volunteered. He was not drafted. He joined voluntarily on the side of the Confederacy, obviously. because Louisiana is where he lived, and that's just what you did. The Civil War is kind of, it was just, that's how it was. Like, you live here, you are going to go fight one way or the other, whether you want to or you don't.
And I'm sure people, chose their side if they had the means to do it. But if you don't have the means, you're gonna serve wherever you're at.
Yeah, and then like the border states, you could kind of choose, like, depending on your your thoughts on stuff. So wait, you said you were going to Georgia at some point, right?
I haven't been in a couple years. I like to go to a Braves game, and I did not realize until a couple years ago how close Andersonville was to Atlanta.
It's not far, is it?
Macon's a couple hours south, I think, or an hour and a half. I can't remember. But my one experience in Macon was like the sketchiest time I've ever been in Georgia.
Being from Indiana, I would highly recommend on your way home going to Chickamauga.
Okay.
Dude, there is so much, like, Indiana went down, like, you boys went down there and kicked their teeth in.
We only had one battle here, so you don't get a lot of pride in Civil War history of what Indiana did, but like there was only like one battle, but yeah, you had troops and regiments that went out there and fought, and
they were fighting in like the half of the Civil War that people tend to forget about, like the western half of it, where everybody else wants to focus on like Gettysburg and Atlanta being torched, but you forget that like they were fighting further west than that, and it was terrible where they were, but there's one monument down there. I think he was like a lieutenant or a colonel of some sort from Indiana. There's a monument specifically to him because he got hit in the face with a cannonball.
Oh, I need to brush up on my history. Like you know how it goes. The Civil War was a bigger chapter, and it gets smaller and smaller, and it gets replaced by the next conflict or war. So I got to do some brush up work.
Yeah. I had a history teacher in high school that was the self-described pacifist, and he's like, so we're going to cover United States history from 1700 to 1970, but we're not talking about any of the fighting or the combat. And I'm like, the hell are we talking about then? That's all we did.
Yeah.
That was our only export, was violence. I mean, some shit doesn't change, I guess.
I do know North Carolina, they have like their school curriculum. They do like a whole semester, I believe, on like the Holocaust. Like they can do that. Yeah. And it's one of those, I mean, it's still tough to squeeze a lot of that into that time frame, but at least it's still able to be talked about and taught, where most of that stuff that's that old, we're going on 80 years since it, ended.
Yep.
It gets less and less and less. And I mean, it's wrote out of the curriculum. So it's good to see that some states are allowing teachers to teach more of the darker side of history, because you got to know. I mean, the Civil War, like, we just know what was the Civil War, what was over slavery. It was state rights.
Yeah.
And you don't ever really get a full picture of the whole scale that was going on.
I think one of the biggest like lies that they teach kids in history about the Civil War is that like Abraham Lincoln, the great emancipator, he did all this for, ending slavery. And he's documented more than once saying, if I could reunite the country and not end slavery, not free a single slave, I would.
Yeah.
Like he didn't give a shit. Like he just didn't like that the South was getting uppity and trying to do their own thing.
Yeah, he just wanted to get the Union back together and have control over more space.
Exactly. So Henry Wurz was actually he was actually wounded at the first battle of Bull Run in 1861. His right arm was injured, apparently bad enough that it never like fully recovered. And for the rest of his life, he dealt with like chronic like shoulder and elbow pain. Like anybody else does as you get older.
Yeah, once you hit, I don't think you've hit that 40 threshold yet, but just wait. Yeah. You'll feel about 60 once you do.
Yeah, next August, but I wake up every morning and go, why?
Yeah, like I'm already popping and cracking and hurting when I wake up.
Like you bend down, you're just like, just making dad noises.
Yep. I just little side note, fun fact: it was wintertime, and I went to go get a pop filter for the microphone at Guitar Center, and you know how it is in the wintertime where the salt's on the road and it like makes everything the same color.
Yep.
I didn't see the curb and caught myself with my right shoulder, my right, palm of my hand. Pretty sure I tore a rotator cuff.
Fuck.
It's just like you can't do nothing. Like you can't fall. You can't like get up too quick.
Dude, you sneeze too hard and you're out of work for a day.
Yeah,
You know?
you can't go chop wood or pull a weed too hard, or you're freaking hurting the next day.
Every once in a while, I can get my neck to crack, and if I get a really good one, like I get tunnel vision, I'm like, oh, that was a hard
Yeah.
reset.
Yeah, I'm afraid I'm gonna break my neck one time doing that.
I'm gonna do it one of these times and just wake up and be like, Nana? Oh no.
What are you doing here?
You're back? Oh shit, I went, didn't I? So the pain that he was going through combined with like the treatment that was available at the time, likely meant that he was medicating with like
Opiates.
laudanum. Yeah. Which, if I remember correctly, I think laudanum is like 1 part opium, 1 part whiskey, 1 part mercury. And they're like, we don't understand how people are addicted to this. Like, because you're drinking heroin and mercury.
Exactly.
You know?
And I'm sure that probably changed people's temperament there.
Oh, God.
You know, I'm already evaluating. Is this guy a scapegoat? No, he wasn't.
No, they try to paint it that way in some cases. But
I tried to like look for the good. Like, okay, he was just in a bad situation. I call bullshit.
No, he was just a scumbag. But a lot of accounts said that this laudanum addiction would have something to do with his erratic behavior, which mercury eats your brain, you know. So his injury would actually move him off the front line and into what they referred to as the prisoner management system under General John Winder, who ran Confederate prison camp operations like overall. He was like the overseer of all of them. He was he was competent enough at on the administrative side of handling prisoners and exchanges and keeping records and all that stuff. And he was eventually promoted to captain and assigned to Andersonville in late March of 1864. Dog's trying to...
He sold snake oil to the wrong person.
Right. Well, this didn't make my hair grow back, you son of a bitch.
My wiener still won't get hard. What are you talking?
You said it'd get bigger, and it's not. I'm still waiting for my baby dick to fall off and my big one, my adult one to come in.
Fast forward 100 years, and you can still buy that shit at the gas station, and it still don't work. Huh?
So when he lands at Andersonville, he's immediately made the commandant of the inner stockade, meaning he is directly responsible for the day-to-day management of prisoners and lives and all that stuff. And this part's sort of complicated because this is where we were going before, where it's like, was he a scapegoat or was he not?
Yeah, when you said he was pulling out his pistol and he was just shooting people.
Yeah, just randomly, you know?
Yeah, that's we're a little too full. Let's get rid of 10 people. Okay, boom, 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 boom.
That's some Nazi prison guard activity, you know?
Nope, they crossed the date line or the deadline, so let's go ahead and unalive them.
He smiled at me. Kill that man. So
he had too much rations of lumpy cornmeal.
You didn't pick that cob out and finish it after you said. You didn't re-eat that cob after you digested it. So the case for him being a monster is, multiple prisoners described him as actively cruel, taking pleasure in suffering around him, and again, personally beating and shooting prisoners. He was very, very interested in enforcing the deadline, and he authorized the use of dogs that we talked about before, where they were just like sicking dogs on people out in the woods, which is, I couldn't imagine just getting torn apart by dogs.
No, and you're an animal lover. I know that. Oh, yeah. I like dogs. I don't dislike them. I have allergies, so it's hard to have a loving relationship with dogs especially cats. Cats kill me. But it's like, okay, like I'm, this is an animal, this is, they're not really pets back then, I guess, too much. But then to have dogs just hunting people down is just terrifying.
I mean, it'd be one thing if you're just using them for like scent work to track people, but then you're just like, nah, you guys look hungry.
Yeah.
He also kind of bragged about the death rate at the camp. The Judge Advocate General of the Union Army described him as, quote, exhibiting savage orgies and behaving rather as a demon than a man. And then again, there's the 13 murder charges that they brought him up on, which is crazy considering it's technically war, but
yeah,
at the same time, it's different than shooting somebody that's shooting back at you.
It's funny because I was talking to you off air about watching Nuremberg on Netflix, and they were trying to figure out how you try people, and I believe this was what they referred back to at one point, because
Oh, really?
I could be wrong, because this had never happened, and especially in this time, the Civil War, it had never happened, and then in World War II, the scale of like that had never happened. So like, how do you charge somebody in war? And I think they had to build a lot of the case off of what happened in the Civil War.
And that makes a lot of sense. I mean, because then you also have the perspective of, guys that are running the trials who, their grandfather could have been involved with some of this,
Yeah. It's, 1945 to what, 1863 or 4 is when the Civil War, or 65 is when it ended.
Yeah, 65.
So, you're only 80 years between or whatever. You have a young, grandparent. Yeah, you could have a grandparent that was definitely involved in it.
Especially when people are spitting out like 12, 13 kids at a time,
Do they just know their way out by then? You're not reproducing for pleasure.
No, that's just strictly for, farm hands.
We grew up, my family was coal miners, and it's like you had to push out kids to either farm or go work the mines to pay the general store bill, because you owed the coal mine company more money than you brought in.
That whole system still makes like absolutely zero sense, where it's like, you work for us, we're paying you in currency that you can only use to buy stuff from our store. You're not making any money. Like, you're just giving it back to them. So the case for making this guy a scapegoat is not all that strong. It's like, the big argument was like, well, he wasn't really given any resources to work with. The Confederate supply system's not working. There's food is scarce in the South anyway, even though that's where all the farming in the country was being done for the most part. But it's okay that he was treating these guys bad, because the Confederate soldiers also weren't eating all that well. And, obviously the other issue is that he was prioritizing food for the army over the prisoners.
And then when you pull a gun and shoot people, that just nullifies everything you just said. We go right back to that. It's like, well, you did that, but you made that choice.
Yep. I mean, like there's I can't remember the guy's name, but he was a doctor in Germany. He was like an actual like physician that was a card carrying member of the Nazi party that went to Japan before mainland Europe was invaded. And he was in Nanking when the Japanese rolled through there and started doing shit. And he actually saved like a couple thousand people by hiding them.
Yeah. So
it's like, yeah, he's part of an evil system, but he did something really good. So it works both ways.
Yeah.
But once you start,
not everybody was bad. I know all the stuff I've watched, you had some people, it's like, okay, I want to be an explorer. I want to do this, so I'm going to do it on their dime.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, when you play with fire, if you don't give them what they want, because Hitler was actively looking for the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
And I know there was explorers that were using their resources to fund their expeditions to what they wanted to do. But if you didn't give them answers or give them something, they'd kill you.
And then like you have just the regular guys that were in, like the Wehrmacht, just like the regular army that were just, 17, just 17, 18-year-old kids that got drafted. They were out hunting and fishing one day, and the next thing they're shooting at people that were doing the same thing 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And then after the war they meet and they're like, we actually have a lot in common. It kind of sucks we were trying to kill each other,
It's funny because you kind of went over that Christmas truce, and so did I. And I know there was a couple I remember like one of the truces, they were playing soccer, what I mean, across, and they realized that, hey, we're we're both scared. We don't want to be here. We're being forced to fight. And then you kind of think, okay, when we go, let's just kind of go our separate ways and not continue to fight each other.
Yeah. We're trying to kill each other over some asshole that we've never even heard of that died 2,000 miles away from here. That's not even from our country. That was like
cold, scared, and hungry.
The biggest waste of human life. That's,
and it's one of those. It's like, it was population control too back then.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, how many more people would be on Earth if you didn't have the Civil War, you didn't have the Holocaust, and like how different would it be? But it's sick to think that. But it's like it was like a population control to kind of keep everybody in line and to not get too big.
Yeah. And then England lost it's like 30 some odd percent of their male population during World War I, which is
A lot.
insane. So another thing this guy did was he allegedly wrote to his superiors like pretty constantly, like requesting more supplies, more men, more food, more medicine. And of course, this is all ignored. The overcrowding that killed most of these men at Andersonville was a decision that was made by Confederate higher-ups, not Wirz himself. You're still carrying it out, You're just following orders, but you're still carrying it out.
Exactly.
When he would request that prisoners be moved to other locations to relieve pressure, he was ignored. General Winder, whatever we're calling him, who was his direct superior, wrote to Richmond asking that 20,000 of these prisoners be immediately either transferred or released. And they ignored that. And the Confederacy knew exactly what was going on at Andersonville and did absolutely nothing to fix it. So, spoiler alert, at his trial, Wirz defended himself. He did not have an attorney. And he said, quote, "I know what the orders are, Major," meaning that he was following orders that were given to him, which, again, that doesn't work. And just before he was hanged, he repeatedly said to an officer that was overseeing his execution, quote, "I am being hung for obeying orders which I had no choice but to obey." Now, translate that into German about 400 times, and that's how Nuremberg worked.
Yeah. It's not what they didn't take it as an excuse. It was like, nope.
No. But the problem is he's not on trial for crimes against humanity or war crimes. He's on trial for multiple counts of murder. So that doesn't even matter. That's just, you're not being ordered to execute these guys face to face. You're being ordered to keep everybody in line and, and of course,
it was a spectacle too back then. I mean, it was nothing like that had ever happened. So
yeah, I mean, that was probably a show. And of course, like the dog attacks and all the executions come up, and that just nullifies everything. So Wirz is he's a man of what they referred to as limited competence and questionable character, placed in an impossible situation by a collapsing government. That's a quote from a Southern newspaper back in the day. And it's continuing the quote. He responded to the situation with a combination of genuine efforts to maintain order and genuine cruelty towards the men in his custody in rough equal measure that historians... So that's a point that historians are still arguing about whether he's actually doing this for, I'm following orders, or if he's just a complete scumbag.
Like you said, I want to say the medicine they had him on, the opiates and the mercury in the brain's probably a big deciding factor in the actions that he took.
Yeah, definitely did not help him out at all. He was hung to death in Washington, D.C., November 10th, 1865, and he was the only person executed for war crimes during the entire Civil War. Confederate President Jefferson Davis, he probably should have been too, just for his lack of working to exchange prisoners, especially black prisoners. Yeah. But he escaped justice because he died in his sleep in 1889. Very lucky. And then John Winder, Wirz's superior, died of a heart attack February 1865 before the war ended, so he couldn't be tried either. A few men who survived Andersonville left records detailed enough that we kind of should mention them, because the numbers of people that were keeping notes while they were actively dying is too hard to ignore and not get it out there. John L. Ransom of the 9th Michigan Cavalry kept a pretty detailed diary of his time at Andersonville that was actually published after the war. I want to try to track it down. I couldn't find a digital copy of it anywhere. This diary is one of the most widely used like primary sources for like events that were going on in the camp. He recorded daily temperatures, death counts, individual incidents, daily conditions, which is impressive considering he was like actively dying of malnutrition while he was doing all this. Dorrance Atwater, that we talked about last time, was assigned to record the names of the dead for Confederate records. He's the one that, because of him, everybody there, except for like 400 some odd men, don't have their names on markers.
I did listen to some other stuff trying to get ready for this, that they fought for her to keep the rights to have that.
Oh, good.
Like they were trying to be like, no, you can't have, like, she's like, no, I did this. Like, I'm keeping my work.
Yeah.
But they like fought her to like take it away from her.
Well, we got to hide it, because we can't have people knowing the truth.
Nope. I was listening to one of my other favorite podcasts. It is Disgraceland.
Oh, yeah.
And they were talking about, I guess it was Hollywoodland, the movie version, or the Hollywood version, that part of the contract, like when you see like warships in movies, they're real ships, but it's like, oh, we get to read the script and make sure you're not saying nothing bad about the government.
Mm-hmm.
So they would like, oh, nope, you can't talk about a soldier coming back with PTSD. We got to write that out and fix it because the government has to look good.
At the trial that Wurs had, Atwater actually sat right next to him, and was still like secretly keeping notes and making copies of things from the trial that got added to the notes as well. And when Atwater was released, Dorrance Atwater was a dude, actually.
Okay, I thought there was a girl that did it, but maybe just the name sounded like it could have been a woman. So
it's an odd name. It could go either way.
They named people some pretty interesting stuff back in this time. So,
dude, my mom had a great aunt Dorcas.
We had an aunt my dad had an aunt Dorcas. My grandpa's name was Hurstel.
Hurstel?
I don't Hurstel, Hurstle.
Oh, wow.
And then his brother Coy named his daughter Coyetta. So it's like you just name whatever you feel like it. Yeah. It's like, oh, let's take my name, your mom's name, and we'll just mash something together.
The other one you don't see very often anymore is the female junior. I don't know
if I've ever seen a female junior.
You'd have like, Julia Adams Jr. It never really took off, but I've seen a few where you're just like, that's interesting. I've not seen that.
And if you're Mabel, I feel sorry if your name's Mabel. I've never met a skinny or cute, attractive Mabel.
I think we'll go to the same place here. When I hear the name Mabel, I automatically go to old, like early 90s, like King Mabel. So when Atwater was released, he kept this list and then added to it at the trial with all the names and everything. Atwater later went to Tahiti, where he married the daughter of the last king of Tahiti and lived the rest of his life, which was like one of the happier spots of this entire story. Because
at least he turned into some royalty. At least he got that.
Dude, royalty on a tropical island, like this dude is living the dream. I mean,
I'll take it.
Right? I'd take a vacation there.
As long as they don't hate Americans. If they don't hate Americans right now, I'll take a vacation.
Exactly. I think after the World Cup ends, we'll be okay to go to Europe again. Because like
everybody's going back home.
Dude, they are loving it here. Like watching the Scottish fans like drink bars dry in Boston, and then the other one I've been loving is all the Japanese fans in Texas discovering like Texas barbecue for this first time, just getting their fucking minds blown by brisket the size of their chest.
Now if we can just get the Koreans over there to learn how to make proper Korean barbecue.
Oh, dude.
I do like Korean barbecue though.
Oh, I've only had it once and it's so good.
If you get like one of those places where you actually, all you can eat, that's where it's at.
Dude.
You cook it yourself and yeah. I'm fat.
Wait, you cook it yourself, like on a hibachi or something?
Yeah, it's like they've got this little. So you go to like this round table, and it's like got a little disc, and you put and cook your meat on this thing. You have to look it up.
No shit.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
Dude,
Like,
right. Well, if we don't get back on track, we're going to keep talking about guns.
yep, we gotta get back on.
uh, Robert Knox Sneeden, who was a Union soldier and map maker, um, was interred at Andersonville. And while he was there, he produced some really detailed maps and sketches of the camp that are now like being shown in museums and stuff. Because he mapped out individual posts in the fence, so he knew exactly where everything was. His artwork is in the Virginia Historical Society Museum, which I believe is in Richmond.
Probably.
The longest held Union prisoner of the entire Civil War was a member of the 154th New York Volunteer Infantry. His name was Orrin Logan. He was captured on the first day of Gettysburg. So that was July 1st. He was in prison in Andersonville for 661 days.
Of pure hell.
Yeah, dude, 2 years of constant diarrhea, your teeth falling out, you can't eat.
And he survived even the trip home. He survived.
He survived.
Because I know, probably a spoiler alert, and you can ADD break if I'm giving away too much. Most people didn't make it. Even when they liberated them, they didn't make it home.
No.
It's like Band of Brothers when, if you watch that and it's like, oh, we're going to liberate you. Here's food. And they're like, you have to take their food away because you can't feed them that. It'll kill them.
Yeah.
And it's just heartbreaking. Like, oh, you made it that long, and most of the people didn't make it off the train.
Yeah. Because they were eating themselves to death.
Yeah.
Even, they're just like getting like a chunk of cheese the size of your thumb and some bread, and that was killing them because they were so malnourished that their body rejected it.
Yeah, it was, like I said, this is just such a, hopefully we brought a little bit of laughter to this because
God, I hope so.
It's such a horrible story, like a horrible event. It's not a story, it's true.
Yeah, no, there's no, unfortunately, there's no story to this. This is,
no, it's fact.
And that's what you run into with history. Just like you learn about stuff in high school and you're like, oh, history sounds okay. And then you look at it and go, oh no.
Histories.
This sucks.
You only get the sugar coated part of history in your books.
Yeah. Then you like research as an adult and like, oh.
Yeah, they didn't teach me this.
No. In September 1864, General Sherman and his Union forces occupied Atlanta. Nothing bad happened there, right? This put federal cavalry within striking distance of Andersonville, which suddenly looked a lot less remote and a lot less secure than the location did in 1863, because you have the only Union fire type Pokemon like in your area, and he's coming to burn your shit down. The Confederate command began transferring prisoners out to Camp Lawton, which is near Millen, Georgia. Nobody ever transferred people out of prison camps again to keep them from being captured or liberated by another force, though. Anyway, and they also sent them to the Florence Stockade in South Carolina, which was also not good.
No.
By October of 1864, the population at Andersonville had dropped from 33,000. This number blew my mind. It dropped from 33,000 to 5,000 men, which for that location was totally manageable.
Yeah. I mean, 10,000 people is what it was designed for. So you got your half capacity and you could actually operate it. And it's not like you get a couple camps and you put 50 people in charge of 3 or 4 camps.
Yep.
You break it up and you manage it and you keep up with the exchanges and do what you're supposed to do and save your people, or let's have 10 people run 30,000 people and just what happens.
It's like then, when there's that few of them, you can actually treat them like people.
Yeah.
Crazy what happens there.
Feed them maybe, not wreck their water supply.
Kill them for putting their hand across the fence.
Yeah. Oh, you crossed an imaginary line.
Yeah. The remaining prisoners stayed through the winter of 1864, 1865, and Sherman then began his march to the sea, which destroyed Camp Lawton along with everything else in his path, and the prisoners evacuated from Andersonville ended up being moved again. The ones that were moved from Andersonville are now moved back to Andersonville and then scattered to other facilities. The Civil War came to an end on April 9th, 1865, when General Lee surrendered at Appomattox, and Andersonville was liberated by Union forces in May of 1865. What Union soldiers found when they entered this camp was described as, quote, the living men were in such a state of deterioration that liberation for many of them, was just a slower form of dying. Hundreds of men who had survived the camp died in the weeks after liberation from diseases too advanced to treat and starvation damage that had passed the point of reversal. It's
like
really
I said,
sad.
We're doing this to our own people, and it's heartbreaking. And I seen stuff, and it's like, you're trying to figure out like where is it good, because you go to Alabama, you've got the big Confederate flag in the sky. I can't remember where it is off of 65, but it's like the sons or the daughters of Confederate veterans.
Yep.
Like, there are a lot of people whose families perished on both sides and didn't have a dog in the hunt. They didn't have slaves. They weren't people capitalizing on this. It was normal people. And, you can't forget those guys' stories, no matter how bad it was or what flag they fought behind.
Yep. And like a lot of those guys went to fight to try to keep it from coming to their front door.
Yeah.
And you can't fault them for that. It's like, yeah, they're on the wrong side of it, but you can't fault them from trying to
protect what little bit they have.
Exactly. In July and August of 1865, Clara Barton, who would later go on to found the American Red Cross, came to Andersonville with Dorrance Atwater and a team of workers to identify and mark the graves. They used Atwater's list of all the captured soldiers, and they placed proper headstones on the graves of the men that were buried there. Barton later said Andersonville was the worst thing she had seen in a life that had included years of Civil War battlefields. She was at Gettysburg, and this was worse than that. Oh, yeah. So kind of to bring this to an end, there's the question of whether Andersonville was deliberately like an atrocity against humanity, or if it was a failure of the system. Confederate prison camps were not built well. They were not well supplied. They didn't care. So honestly, I fall more on the part of it being, it's done intentionally, but it's at the same time just being lazy,
It's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
You don't have the supplies to properly do it. You're trying to do it, and then you just don't give a shit. You're going to do what you're going to do, and it turns into what could have been just something that wasn't good. Like you said, becomes one of the biggest, tragedies that the country had really ever seen.
Yeah.
The Civil War itself was entirely a tragedy from start to finish, every battle. But you had this one spot that was, like you said, it was probably the worst thing that happened in the whole Civil War.
So there's a monument at Andersonville National Historical Site where the stockade stood. The National Cemetery is still an active military cemetery. Is still an active military cemetery. So they still do like ceremonies and stuff like that there, remembrance stuff. The graves are packed pretty tightly together. Headstones are actually touching. They're that close because there's so many men buried there.
Yeah.
Providence Spring still flows though, and that's again kind of the only half silver lining you get.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a patch of dirt in the middle of Georgia, in the middle of nowhere, where 13,000 men died for absolutely no reason.
All because the government told them that you can do this or you can't. And like I said, it's crazy. And if we don't keep our heads above water right now, we could be going down the same path, and nothing is going to be gained out of it.
No, absolutely not. And
all that's going to happen, you're going to be not a chapter. You're going to be a paragraph in a textbook, because that's all they teach us, a couple
Yep.
paragraphs.
Like, look at World War One. Like, it's hard to find individual stories, and then you're just like, oh, 300,000 people died over the course of a week here, and you're like, oh, that's a big number. Until you start like reading letters that guys were sending back to their families from like the front lines at Passchendaele, where they're just like, this isn't what I was hoping it was going to be. Where like you had kids that were signing up to go fight because they thought it was going to be this big adventure, and then
this big romantic getaway type thing. You're going to
Yeah.
come back to your sweetheart and life's going to be great. And you get hit with mustard gas.
Yep. Or you come back and your brain is completely broken and you can't even like function as a human anymore.
Yeah. And then, like I said, because that was really, like I said, the time that we were getting out of that, you know, fighting in a big giant field, it started to become a little bit more psychological. And I'm sure there was surprise attacks in the Civil War. Like, not everything was fair. Not everything was a big giant field to where you shoot, kneel, reload, and they shoot over you.
Yep.
You had trenches and you had all kinds of different things. And unfortunately, it just progressed in a negative way after this.
Yeah. And I've said it a few times on here before. I didn't start this show to like glorify war. It's more to put a spotlight on it and be like, this sucks. You know, these are people. You know, at the end of the day, these are just people still.
And you're going to have, you know, some people do miraculous things that are able to do some good. And unfortunately, a lot of war is bad. It's negative. It's terrible. But if you don't talk about it, I mean, that gets lost. That the sacrifice that people made is for nothing if you don't know about it. If you don't know why, you don't tell their story. You know, the families that, you know, didn't have a dad or a brother or an uncle come back because they went to fight for what somebody else believed in.
Yep. Like, unfortunately, we haven't gone to war for a really good reason since World War II.
Yeah.
You know, now it's all about money. It's always been about money, but now it just seems to be more so about money.
More about money, control, and then manipulation.
Yep. Instead of, you know, going to war to do the right thing and help people that need help. Actually, that's not true, because like the whole thing in Mogadishu, that was humanitarian aid that went horribly wrong. You know, and like 30 American servicemen got killed trying to make sure that people could eat. Yeah. You know,
it never works. You try to force democracy on people who don't want it, because you'll have a small group of people who do want it. But it's, what was it? Was it over in, was it Iraq or whatever? We set up democracy when I think Bush was in office.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, as soon as they pulled out, they overthrew it.
Afghanistan.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly where, but it's like, oh, let's set this up. And then it's like, oh, you're gone? We're going back to the way it was.
Yeah. Within like a month, the Taliban's back in charge, and women don't have rights anymore. And, you know.
And you're fighting the people who you gave weapons to fight the people who were bad then. It's just, it's a vicious cycle that never ends.
No, it doesn't. But anyway, that was fun.
It was a blast. I hope it comes through to the listeners that we had a really good time. Even though the topic isn't a jovial topic, you got to kind of break it up, because it's a lot of doom and gloom.
And that's half the battle with stuff like this, is like trying to have fun while you're talking about horrible shit.
But you feel like a monster. You know what I mean? You feel like a monster because you're laughing 2 seconds after you're talking about, you know, guys filtering the water with their teeth to keep from eating maggots.
Yeah.
Or they're eating and, you know, just their guts are getting shredded by what they're eating, and just bacteria spreading rampantly. You know, it's such a bad thing. But I'm going to put my little side note in here real quick, since, you know, Andersonville, it's on my bucket list. Another thing that if you're listening to this and you're close to Georgia, you're going to be in Georgia, go to Atlanta, go to the Atlanta History Museum. They have a phenomenal section, a wing that is Civil War stuff. It's just absolutely jam-packed, prototype weapons. They've got all kinds of awesome stuff. Like I went before a game and it's like, crap, we have to hurry up because like we have to leave to get there. I will go back, and it was like, I don't know, 6-7 years ago, it was like $12 or $15 to get in. So it's got like an Atlanta history section. It's got a Civil War wing. There was like Native American stuff. I think some art galleries. And then I believe Hunger Games, there's a mansion on site. that they film some stuff with Hunger Games with. You can go tour. There's like walking trails, and it's all in like Buckhead. So you're in the hustle and bustle of pretty much downtown Atlanta, and then you're around 33 acres of wooded area, and it just feels dude, Georgia's crazy like that. Like you get all this green space, but you don't feel like you're in a giant city. Like it just really helps set the mood. And it's a fantastic place to go. Please go check it out. It's definitely worth learning some of this history because, you know, a lot of it's just stuff you're never going to know if you don't seek it out.
Yeah. And again, museums like that, like if they don't have people showing up, they're going to close it, you know, because they're not making enough money to keep it running. So do it.
And like Gettysburg Museum of History is my next place I want to go because there's so much history that's not just Gettysburg. It's Gettysburg. It's World War II. It's everything. Like anything in like American history that happened, they could have something there or know something or had something about it.
One tip I will give you when you go to Gettysburg, don't do the bus tour because you go across the entire battlefield in about 40 minutes and you're just like cruising and they're like,
would be what you'd want.
Yeah. It's like, they're just like over a loudspeaker, like, oh, this happened over here and this happened over there. And so we did it when I was in high school. It's basically just run off a CD. You get back to the, like where you get on the bus, they have a gift shop and you can buy the disc. So my dad's like, fuck this. And he bought the CD and we went back through and we did like, I don't know, like 6 hours in the car, just driving across the battlefield and stopping at every point that they mentioned and going and walking it. And it's,
yeah, you got it. I mean, there's a lot of places like that. It's definitely a very somber experience, but it's something you really need to do to understand what got us where we're at.
Yep. Absolutely.
And the sacrifice and the world was a horrible place back then. Yep. It was very primitive. And like you said, human nature seems to be primitive, but we've come a long way.
Yeah. We're hairless apes with firearms. That's about where we're at.
Got thumbs.
Yeah.
That's what separates us. We got thumbs.
Somebody popped thumbs on our paws and they're like, you're the apex predator now, buddy.
You can do all kinds of things now.
You can doom scroll for hours. You're going to love it.
Oh man. Like I said, I was turning you onto some stuff to go watch, and History Underground is the channel for the Gettysburg Museum of History. And other stuff that's just, I mean, you can find all kinds of, it's a lot of more World War II stuff. It seems like this day and age, because you're running out of World War II veterans.
Yeah.
But you know, it's one of those that they're talking and you're seeing, and it can be anything that they talk about. So, and a lot of these small little military museums you go to, or veterans museums, they're jam packed with stuff, and you got people who are very knowledgeable that are veterans or know it, and they're going to tell the story, especially for that area. So you're going to learn more and more about, you know, what went on. Which I went down to Mississippi and stopped at the Laurel Veterans Museum, and they have a plane, and then like the government, I can't remember exactly who, they're like, yeah, they come in and they want to inspect it. They're like, this is a plane you wouldn't take for a museum, and we're hanging it, but you want us to like maintain it and restore it? No, we're not going to do that.
Where's the oil changes every 5,000 miles?
Yeah, it's like it's hanging up here. It's not being flown. It's never going to leave. Like, but the government wants to come in and dictate stuff. Yeah. So
they gotta stick their fingers in shit for no reason.
But like I said, by all means, go find those places, support them, keep them open, because once that history is gone and that knowledge is gone, there's gonna be a lot of stuff we'll forget. Never know.
Yeah. But hey, man, do me a favor. Plug your show.
So you can find me. We had Jimbo here as well. Dark Discoveries podcast. We cover really whatever interests us. We have Jackie as well. She's been out doing the theater thing that she enjoys. So we just kind of roll with the punches. I'm a guy that likes all types of history, especially gangsters, you know, mob stuff. I like some conspiracies. I don't get into all the crazy, you know, cryptids and all that stuff. They're fun. We're going to try to do a little bit of paranormal, but let's be honest, most paranormal stories are, I heard a noise or something touched me. So you got to try to find it, make it fun. Jimbo has his other podcast, Tragedy of Cinema. He's a nerd. always around it. He's a nerd. He loves movies. He's always in, watching different things and making fun of me for not knowing what this is. But it has opened up my eyes hopping on there a few times to some really good movies that you don't really think that are good. Like, I didn't watch Reservoir Dogs ever until like 6 months ago.
Oh, damn, dude.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
And they filmed everything in like a warehouse. Dog Day Summer or Dog Day Afternoon, whatever it is, an early Al Pacino movie. Did not think it would be that good. Really good movie. Like, I really enjoyed it. Then you have like Jackie. She'd made us watch Killer Clowns from Outer Space. That was fun. It took a couple times watching it to really enjoy it. It's like a B movie, and you just have to appreciate it for what it is.
It's one of those bad that it's good.
Yeah, and it's just one-liners that are, just, you don't catch it the first time, but then you start watching the details. You start picking up things, and it's entertaining. So, like I said, we just like to have fun. I mean, this is just an outlet for us to escape life and the pressures of what's going on, to kind of communicate with each other, get away, hang out with people like Kevin. Like, I've had a blast the last night. Just, gosh, I think we were on for like 7 hours talking. Like, didn't get no sleep. It's an awesome little community, and it's good to come on, help support Kevin. He's been fantastic on helping us getting going, talking, just stuff with me, equipment and technical stuff, and like, so giving with his time. It's a fun community. You got Justin Rimmel. We've had him on, the Podfather.
Everybody's Podfather on this show.
Yeah. It's been a blast. It's been a year. Like I said, we're just over a year, and, we've got some big stuff coming. I'm working on a good, I'm hoping, John Dillinger series. We've got, the Fox Hollow murders with Herb Baumeister we're working on. That's a local case for us. We actually went to an update where they were talking about that. So there's going to be, if you've watched it on Hulu, the Fox Hollow murders, there's another part coming out pretty soon. And it's just, like I said, you find these different things. And if I can find some dark history, I like finding some odd heists. The great maple syrup heist, cracked me up. There was a Jack Daniels heist in history that was pretty fun. People stealing wheels of Parmesan cheese. You just gotta, like, when you go down these rabbit holes and you're talking about missing kids at times, or you talk about this or that, you got to have something to lighten the mood. So we try to make fun of the situation, never the people. Just like Kevin, we're not laughing at the victims. We're laughing at the incompetence and just trying to find a way to keep going through. So that's what we do. I think I'm done blabbering. I probably had him for a second and then lost him. I would probably email you a promo, but your promo just kicked its ass.
No, dude, send it anyway.
Yours is so good. So you need to just play your promo on your own episodes, man. That's good. They just need to hear it.
I've gotten that to a couple of different places where I'm like, hopefully this will draw on a whole bunch of new ears. That'd be really good.
And that's what it's all about. I mean, we're not striking it rich by no means. We're just having fun and just trying to make enough money off ad revenue to pay for the hosting sites.
Yeah, right. If I can do this for free, that's awesome. If I can do it and make money, even better. I
want to pay this microphone off. You know what I mean? I want to pay for that monthly, service fee to put this stuff out there, and maybe actually hire somebody to do artwork for me and not try to AI it, because that's the devil. AI, that's the devil.
So full disclosure, when I was getting ready to start the show, I was going through divorce. I was living at my parents' house trying to save up money to get an apartment. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to do this. And I have no equipment other than my microphone. This is like the only equipment that I had that worked. So I was like, I've got a month's worth of my rent squared away. I'm just going to blow it on shit for the show. I bought my music. I bought my board. I bought a new arm. I bought a pretty excellent XLR cable. I was like, yeah,
I just got a Rode cable, man. I can't afford all these things. I bought a Shure mic because that's what everybody uses, and I can't tell a difference between this and the pod mic. So if anybody can help me dial this thing in.
Do you have it set? I'm sure you have it set up as the Shure mic on your board, right?
Yeah.
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 I don't know if
I
that
got
makes a
it in
difference or
there.
not, but
I think people still talk about, they still have to get so much gain put into it or decibels, and that's beyond me. Like, we started this podcast, Jimbo had a blue Yeti that we were going to put on the table, and I'm like, dude, we can't do this. If I'm going to, I may not be good, but I'm not going to half-ass it. Like, you got to go in, you have to literally get the best stuff you can, sound as good as you can out the gate, because those guys that gave, like, you listen to early hillbilly horror story stuff, it was rough. Early Rimmel was a little rough. Nowadays, people wouldn't even listen to it because how far podcasting has come. They wouldn't even give it a chance. Yeah. But you go back and listen, you're like, okay, like, they made it from this. If we start one or two steps better sound wise, maybe we can get lucky. And we've had some pretty good luck. So we've talked about Jimmy Hoffa. That was a big one for us. Buford Pusser. Jimbo got into this whole thing about mermaids, and it just made me the baby face. Mermaids aren't real. Cryptids aren't real. I'm gonna say this. He's like, bullshit. Cryptids aren't real.
I'd agree with him, man.
I went to the Bell Mansion in Fort Wayne when it was still open to do tours, and there's some stuff that happened that has me being a skeptic. There's no way that's like Rimmel said when he went to this, to the Rockville, which is Rockville, the old insane asylum, is like 40 minutes south of me. I didn't get to make it to that one. It was expensive. It was like $250 or some crap, or $125 to go investigate. And it's like, dude, it's in the middle of summer. It's hotter than hell. I ain't trying to do that right now. But with things reacting to him there that no way people would know, I believe him. Like, he's one of those guys, and I believe you. And I try to just think maybe some of these shadows I'm seeing are just shadows off the road, because I live in an old house in an old downtown area that isn't far from the road. So I'm just hoping that's reflections and not shadow people.
Anyway, man, this was a lot of fun. We got to get together and do something more fun than this at some point.
I will definitely have you on my show, and we will try not to have as many ADD breaks as we had. We got to be professional, because it'll take us 2 days to do a 30-minute episode. I mean, or an hour episode.
I've seen how it is when you get the two of us together, though, so that could be tricky.
Yeah, it's been a blast, and it's just fun that you meet some of these people in this community, and you talk to them a little bit, but then you realize, like, you're so much the same. Yep. It's like he's Dustin in Vermont, and I'm just Kevin in Indiana. I mean, it's just it goes hand in hand, and when everybody's into the same thing, it just makes it fun, because we can talk about weapons, we can talk about World War II, we can talk about anything, wrestling, sports, anything. You have a good time with it. So that's the one thing, is if what we talked about off the record in the past ever came to fruition, I don't know if we could keep it together and make it anything positive. No. We'd have to be like, and that's the thing too, is like you said, you don't do a lot of co-hosting, you do a lot of solo. When we get Jackie back, it's going to be like this. It's going to be like we're going to waste a whole night just catching up and shooting the shit. And then maybe you'll throw a quick episode together at the end of the night.
Here's an hour and a half long episode with 20 minutes of content.
Then my brother's going to come on. We're going to be doing Jack Ruby. So I think that's going to be fun. And he's going into the Warren files on this stuff. And I already like to debate with him anyways. So it's going to be probably a shit show as well. But hopefully we make you laugh and maybe cry a little bit. If you're laughing so hard you cry. And that's all we're looking for.
And you guys put out a great show. I love your show. I love the dynamic of the hosting.
We're still rough around the edges. We don't edit. We present it. We try to have fun. We try to be genuine. And that was the whole thing, was if we mess up, leave it, because we want it to be real and not so, processed and produced. I did my best. I will apologize for my reading, because I tried to put bullet points, and I can know the topic back and forth. But as soon as you put the camera on, or you hit record, and I have to start talking, because I hid in class during public speaking.
Me too.
I did not get up in front of the class, and when I did, it was it got to the point where I couldn't do John Dillinger no more. Like, you did it last year. You can't do it again. They wouldn't let me do Hunter S. Thompson. They're like, no. Do a book report and you have to read it in front of the class. I'm like, cool. I'm going to do Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. No, you're not. Well, that's an American masterpiece. It's a class. No, it's not. I'm like, yes, it is.
Sure is.
So I did Last of the Mohicans, and I read the back of the VHS cover and got a C.
Hell yeah, dude.
So I got kicked off before I even finished because he's like, you cheated. You didn't read the book, but I'm going to give you a C. I was like, hell yeah.
Dude, I had a cinema class in high school, my senior year, and our final project was we had to, you have to watch a movie and you have to analyze it with, the production was doing this at this point in time, and then you have to show a scene from it. Everybody's picking like On the Waterfront or these old like classics. I'm like, the last scene of Fight Club, where he is like fighting himself and then fucking shoots himself. And I'm like, I don't know, I just liked the movie. It was pretty cool, and I got a B on it. Like,
oh yeah,
yeah. Why'd you pick this particular scene? Because it's awesome.
I've never watched Fight Club, so I may have to watch that.
Dude, it's so good, so good.
I was more of a comedy guy. I wasn't huge into a lot of dramas. I'm getting there now. I like suspense stuff, but like I said, like you're like me. You're gonna pick the odd. You're not gonna go with the mainstream. You're gonna find I like this odd thing.
Yeah.
Best movie ever made, in my opinion. Are you ready? Semi-Pro with Will Ferrell.
I've never seen it.
It's a fantastic movie. Just keep in mind, Will Ferrell's playing an over-the-top character, but he's playing the over-the-top character seriously because in his own mind, he's, that's how he is. And it's a good movie. I highly recommend Semi-Pro. Have you watched The Campaign? It's hard to find now.
Is that the one with Zach Galifianakis in it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's every election cycle you have to watch that movie.
His son is just like confessing to all this crazy shit at the kitchen table. Dude, that scene cracks me up. And honestly, if you want something fun and funny and history related, if you've never seen Inglourious Bastards, you are seriously missing out.
My wife bought me that maybe it's my mom. I don't remember, either my mom or my wife. One of the women in my life bought me that for Christmas.
Hell yeah.
It was a fantastic movie.
That's how you know they love you.
He comes walking through that tunnel with that Louisville Slugger, just knocking it. I'll tell you a movie I just watched for the first time a year ago. And because a buddy of mine, like I said, he did the intro song for us. I kind of stole it from him. He didn't say no, so I'm like, cool. But he covered the song Freedom from, gosh, I done forgot the movie. It's a, it's a Quentin Tarantino movie. Oh, what is it? I just had it. This is what happens when you have ADD. You
remember what it was about?
A guy that was a slave.
Oh, Django.
Django Unchained. Yes, he covered that song. Out of this thing. he killed that song. Like, he did it fantastic. But the original song, like, I don't know who recorded it, but you can feel like the grit and the pain in it. His isn't like that, but it's an awesome cover. So I watched that because of him to like understand and see the song. And I'm probably just a one-time watch movie, but it was a fantastic movie.
Yeah, it was good.
And it only took me 20 years to see it.
I saw a thing the other day because like I love Blazing Saddles. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
I had a teacher. Gosh, what was her last name? It was the same guys telling you that got injured and they wanted the money back.
Oh yeah.
It was his grandma. She was a substitute teacher, and she liked me for some reason, probably because my brother got in trouble, and she took a liking. Her Miss Bowser was her name, and she was short and probably looked like a female Bowser. Rest her soul, because she was older than shit in 2000. But she would like say something. Like, you ever seen that? I'm like, no, or yeah, or whatever. She'd start quoting it, like not like any N words, but yeah, she would like, is it true what they say? Just all these random things, and it was just like, oh my god, she would have so got fired.
So I saw a thing that this guy said Blazing Saddles is just Django Unchained, but the Muppets version. It's like, yeah, kind of, yeah. That's a fantastic way to put
Probably
it.
be a good Muppets movie though.
Oh, dude, Muppets Treasure Island. I sat and watched that with my son a couple weekends ago, and he was just like, he was locked in. I'm like, yes.
We've
Now,
seen that in the theater, man, back in the day.
I think I had it on VHS. I don't think I saw it in theaters, but I know my mom
The best
hated it.
Muppets movie is Muppets Christmas Carol. That is my
Hands down.
all-time favorite Christmas movie.
Hands down. It's definitely the best Muppets movie. It's like top 5 Christmas movies. Anyway, yeah, we can find. Where can we find your show?
Pretty much in any place that you're going to find a podcast. Search Dark Discoveries. You're gonna look for this cool diver type logo.
Your logo is awesome.
My buddy Alex Stiff, Stiff Media. If you guys need any artwork done, did a really good job on it. I gave him very little parameters, and he came out with something pretty cool. We're on Facebook. I'm not a social media guy. Like, I need to get better. There's a private group, Dark Discoveries, and then you have the public page. We're on everything. I got to get better at that because I just don't have enough time in the day to maintain family life. You work 50 hours a week, you drive 40 minutes one way, you get maybe one day off, day and a half off a week. You got to upkeep the house, the family, keep everybody happy, do some research, do some recording, have some alone time just to clear your head. And social media is not a priority.
No.
But it is a really good tool to grow.
So you can, if you want this episode early or the next episode early or any of my bonus content that I'm going to put out, you can check me out on Patreon, patreon.com/1159media. $5 a month gets you access to History Goon. It gets you access to Guestnicity with Luther. It gets you access to a few new shows, actually, including...
Guestnicity. I hate to interrupt you, but Guestnicity has me rolling.
Dude, oh my... Luther is so fucking good. He's one of those guys that, like... He could do a show where he's reading the dictionary because he's got such a good voice. They're like, I would listen to this guy read anything. He's fantastic.
Yeah, I wish I had some of that talent people have, because I have a face for radio and I have a voice to keep my mouth shut. But yeah, I'm sorry about that. And then don't forget the Ko-Fi.
Yeah, we got to get to the Ko-Fi. But you can also on Patreon, you can find our very good friends, David and Sarah from Macabre Emporium. They're on there. We just added another show on called True Crime Tradies, which is a couple of tradesmen in Australia that just so happened to watch a bunch of horrific true crime documentaries and review them. And they're hilarious because they are Australian after all. Also gets you access to 911 calls with the operator. Anyway, folks, I will see you next week. And we're all going to die someday. So go out and do some goon shit and leave a mark on the world. Maybe not like they did in Andersonville. But, okay, love you. Bye.
Bye.